My name is Heike Heemann. I am the founder of IdeaShare Business Coaching. I am a leadership, communication, and business coach, and I work both in person in the Maryland area and remotely anywhere in the U.S. Emotional intelligence is a composition of various skill sets that one can develop over time that impact self-knowledge, the knowledge of other people and their reactions to situations, and then also how one controls one's own emotional reactions and how one interfaces in a social context with other people in the company or outside, from vendors to clients to your family at home. We all have to display skills on the emotional intelligence quotient range, but some are better at it than others. The good thing is you can improve your EQ. Emotional intelligence is really very important, and more people are realizing its importance in all aspects of running a business, from hiring for fit versus just for what's on the resume, to whom they promote, and ultimately who may be the one running the company. I've heard a quote, and I don't know who it's attributed to, that your resume will get you into the company and your EQ, or your emotional quotient, will determine how far you go. There are lots of ways you can improve your emotional intelligence, from getting enough sleep and cutting down your caffeine to really observing how you react to a situation or person, and then actually stepping back and figuring out why you react the way you do, and then planning ahead for a future situation similar to the one you've just encountered, coming up with another way of reacting to the person, to the situation, that might be more effective and have a better outcome. Ultimately, there are dozens of articles and books that you can find on that topic, and it's a good idea for people on any rung of the career ladder to continue working on improving their emotional intelligence. One of the stumbling blocks in a lot of small companies is the reluctance of the founder and owner to give up certain responsibilities because they're holding on to their baby, and after all, no one treats their baby the way they would. Learning to improve your delegation skills and learning to trust others to get things done, even if it's not exactly the way you may have envisioned, ultimately will help you grow your company. You have to be able to let go, because you hit a certain size, you cannot run your company by yourself or just you and one admin. You're going to have to hire, and you're going to have to trust people to actually get you the results. So hire for the results, not specifically to follow every single step the way you may have envisioned, because somebody may come up with a better idea of how to do it. You can coach your own team, or you can bring in someone else from the outside. There are a lot of coaches that have different specialties, from life coaching to business coaching to executive coaching, and they all have their own different meanings depending on who you ask. There's no national standard for any of these, so you have to find the right fit. It's important not only to coach your team, but to be coached yourself, so you know what that feels like. And after all, we all can improve. I mean, even the best football teams have a whole team of coaches, even though their players obviously know the rules of the game and have had to prove in many games along the way that they can play football and get results. The same applies to business or any other part of life. You can always get better, and often it's the outside perspective that helps, as well as having an accountability partner. Because after all, if you're running a company and you set yourself some goals, it's very easy to say, well, I didn't reach it this month, I'll just put it off because this is more important. But if you know that you're going to sit with someone who's going to specifically ask you about your progress, you're more likely to stick with it. Helping someone become a good manager can take lots of forms. For starters, it's being a good example, but you can also expose them to books, articles, videos. You can bring them in regularly to ask them, what are you struggling with? And then help them out with answers. You can bring in a coach. You can have them find their own coach. The main thing is to keep in touch and rephrase what it is you're expecting, and really pay attention to what everybody around this new manager does, how they react to them, and then give specific feedback. It's very important to be very to the point, both with the positive and the negative. One of the things that people tend to focus on is the weaknesses, but really where you get more growth is by focusing on someone's strengths and encouraging them to work along those ways. A good tool is role play. It's dreaded by most people. There are very few people that like it, but ultimately it's one of those things that gives results. Put someone in a situational context and say, how would you deal with this? And let them play it out, usually more than once, and you will see a difference in their second, third, fourth time around. And that's one way to help someone grow in a management role. Accounts receivable are a stumbling block in various industries to different degrees that people often overlook. The focus is always on marketing and selling, bringing in new customers and upselling the ones you have. And what sometimes gets lost in the process is making sure you get paid for what you've already delivered, let it be products or services. So one of the things I would encourage people to do is keep a close tab on their accounts receivable, making sure that they send the invoices out in a very timely fashion, but also that they keep a running tally of how old these invoices are, and if somebody truly isn't paying, getting help. That could be either through a lawyer or a collection agency or a trip to the small claims court. There are a variety of reasons why you should go with one or the other, or go within a certain sequence. Most people first think of a lawyer because that's a profession that's more commonly interacted with, because you have to create contracts for your clients, etc. But a collection agency may actually be a better first step when somebody isn't paying you, simply because most of them work on a contingency basis versus a lawyer who automatically charges you hourly. So you want to start with a collection agency, and then depending on how much someone owes, if they truly cannot get through, then you may want to go either to small claims court or hire a lawyer. A lot of people have heard the term branding and they automatically think of a logo. But personal branding actually goes much beyond what your title is, what you may have on your LinkedIn profile. It's really how you show up in the workplace, starting with that all-important handshake to whether you make eye contact, or how you stand in front of a room when you have to give a presentation. Are you stammering along? Are you throwing a lot of filler words into your presentation, like and, or are you having a continuous flow of information? And it's perfectly fine to make a pause. How does your grooming fit in? All that is part of your personal brand. And then going beyond the exterior, do you follow up with your promises? That too is a big part of your personal brand. Are you the reliable person, or are you the one where everybody has to keep prodding to get you to actually follow through on what you said you would do? If you're just starting out with a business, or you've made a career change, it's important that you get social proof. And that is, in my view, and I'm sure there are people that disagree, easiest to achieve by getting recommendations on LinkedIn. It's a place where people attach their own image, their own headline, their own title to the recommendation they write. It's not something you can put in place like you could on your own website. So a recommendation on LinkedIn from someone that you have worked for, worked with, worked alongside to, has a lot of weight. It's a kind of social proof that can carry you into a new business, into a new career, or even into just a new expansion of your product range. So even if LinkedIn is not where you find most of your clients, I would suggest putting some effort into developing a solid LinkedIn profile and making sure that you have solid recommendations, not just Tom's a great guy and Mary was a superb supervisor, but really have them go into detail on your skills and strengths.